A full and updated news bulletin will be released later this morning on Fabulous 103 and on social media via YouTube, where you can find all the most recent news bulletins released by us concerning the conflict between Thailand and Cambodia. In the meantime, it's worth answering some of the questions that have either been sent in to us or raised via social media. Now, rather than answer them at the time we received them, we've endeavoured to secure valid and qualified answers from those with both knowledge and experience far beyond our own. After all, we're a radio station, so let's take a look at the questions that we've received and the answers that we believe to be factual. Can rockets reach tourist areas? Great question, and the answer is categorically no. The type of missile used by Cambodians is Chinese-built and has a range of 80 to 130 kilometres. In a recent post, someone claimed that they could reach cities like Rayong, which is 290 miles from the border as the crow flies, and is also an indication of the kind of dross that you can pick up on social media right now. These missiles are certainly effective, though, within the 100-kilometre range, but that coverage doesn't include any tourist area or centre of visitor density. Are airports open? Yes. Currently, all airports, both here and in Cambodia, are open, and flights are unaffected by the conflict, and you can even fly to and from Cambodia to Thailand without issue. Flights are only slightly being rerouted at various times to avoid the theatres of battle. Should I leave my Assam home? No. Well, that's unless you're within the areas close to the border, where, as in Chanthaburi and Trat, residents have been told to evacuate. Evacuation centres have been set up in nearby cities, and those leaving are recommended to take food and water with them. At the centres, every effort has been made to provide provisions for all, but they will be basic. Staying in a home within the marked zone is unwise, simply because in the event of an attack, there's absolutely nothing that you could do to stop it anyway. Can I still come on holiday to Thailand? Of course you can. The conflict is restricted to a very small area of Thailand along the Cambodian border. Whilst the border is long, 800 kilometres, 500 miles, none of it is near a tourist area. And apart from those areas, there has been no effect at all on daily life here in Thailand. Is there a hatred for Cambodian people in Thailand? Well, there are at any time up to 500,000 Cambodians in Thailand, mostly working as guest workers or their families. The majority of those remain and continue to work without issue. After all, the average Thai or Cambodian is not involved in any way with this dispute. Thais living within Cambodia were recommended to leave by the state several weeks ago. Are the borders open? No, they're not. Land borders are all currently closed, and with tens of thousands camped there wanting to cross from either side, it would be futile to join them right now. Did Cambodia bomb Laos? Yes. Inadvertently perhaps, and confirmed by independent sources. At least one rocket exploded inside the Laos border. There's been no martial response by Laos to that. Did Cambodia ask for a peace agreement and an immediate ceasefire? Yes, several times now, and they've been very verbal on the subject. However, action as opposed to words indicates that that isn't currently their real position, having told the United Nations, other nations, and even the US that they want an immediate ceasefire. They continue to bomb Thailand, even as of this morning, and they've actually heightened the level of attack. Thailand has made it clear that it's willing to observe a ceasefire if and when Cambodia instigates it. Where does Cambodia get its ammunition from? Well, photographs of weapons and munitions found after they fled outposts show a poor, rusting and aged display of weapons going back decades in age. However, their rockets and launchers are reported to be from China and of recent purchase. Those rockets fire in clusters and are unable to successfully be aimed at a specific target with accuracy, as they're intended for blanket bombing and not discretionary targeting. Thailand, too, is now using blanket bombing in response, but of a different kind, where the key vessel is precise, then disperses multiple other smaller bombs as it approaches its target, thus more effective against a military point or position. Thailand has also responded with tank fire to tank fire and regularly sent in fighter jets, whilst also using the Navy this weekend to fire on points along the border where Cambodia has fired into Chantaburi and Trat, both provinces having sea lines. Why is the father of the Cambodian Prime Minister doing all the talking? Well, the former Prime Minister of Cambodia is acting as a mouthpiece for the country and his son, along with the current Prime Minister's government. This, as flight records show the son's private jet having fled Cambodia at the start of the fighting, then visiting Korea, Philippines, several other Asian countries, and finally landing in China on Friday. There's no word on who is or was on board the plane or its flight purpose, but it's possible that he was at meetings to glean support for his country's actions. Either that or he wished to disassociate himself from his father. Will any other country send support for Cambodia or Thailand? That's a key question, as it's currently a David and Goliath situation. With Cambodia holding on tightly to a sling, many are asking the same question, as they must have known that this would reach the current stage, and perhaps do have a series of further moves to glean another nation's support. Which nation? Well, that would be guesswork. But reality is that this was not a knee-jerk reaction. It was obviously planned, and in great detail, and Cambodia is likely trying to follow a predetermined plan. But it would take a brave and perhaps dumb nation to enter the battlefield right now, as currently this remains a series of localized border battles. What about the United Nations? Well, the best you'll see from them is a United Nations security team once and when peace is declared. The United Nations will not enter into the battlefield on either side. Why didn't the fighting stop on Sunday after President Trump made his statement? Well, because Cambodia gave him their promise of intent to effect an immediate ceasefire, but then didn't do that, instead doing the opposite. Cambodia is seen as playing a game with all who offer to negotiate, by playing the innocent and small victim of a bully, when reality is that they started this, at least, series of conflicts. Is the content of media companies such as yours, ours, controlled by the Thai state? No. We are a licensed, independent, English-language media outlet, primarily a radio station, authorized to broadcast within a limited area of Thailand and obviously globally on the internet. Our news normally is a 4-minute daily broadcast of news from Thailand, and we hope that this series of battle broadcasts will be a one-off and end very quickly. The state nor any representative has approached us to limit or affect our news content. How can I donate to food banks and more for displaced Thais? Good question. Your local news and any social media pages are the best places to look. Most areas now have collection centres for food and donations that are then trucked to the affected areas. How do I evacuate family members from their homes? The answer is you don't. To travel into those areas yourself is an absolute no-no. Affected areas have seen local communities and headsmen organise evacuation, which is still ongoing and on offer. Utilities remain fully operational, so there's normally no cut to phone or internet content for your family members, and they can request help to leave at any time if needed. Why is the Thai army declaring martial law? In Thai law, the military has auto and immediate control of any situation regarding national safety. They don't need parliamentary approval and so have the right to a very speedy response. Martial law has been declared only within limited areas along the border to allow them to order the general public to, for example, evacuate, and also to set curfews along with other powers for the good of the people in those areas. Martial law is not in effect for the majority of Thailand. Will Thailand invade Cambodia and take over power? The answer to that is no. It's a fair question, as that's normally seen as the end goal during a war. This, though, isn't a war. It's currently a conflict. And lessons learned from other nations teach that if you invade and conquer, that's just the start of the problem, as then the conqueror is responsible for the nation, its rebuilding and development, and at the same time has to control it, which is one of the toughest parts of war. Thailand has not been at war for decades and is seen internationally as simply defending its nation. When will this end? Well, according to the Thai military, and indeed the temporary Prime Minister, this can end just as soon as Cambodia, which has been proven to have begun the current conflict, backs down and ceases firing on Thailand. All the rhetoric in the world can't affect that. They simply have to stop. And until they do, they can look forward to the continuation of response from Thailand. Those then, the questions that have been sent in to us or received over social media in the past 3 or 4 days. And if you have a question that you'd like to have answered, feel free to send us a message via our website, alwayspatia.com.